Within a sexless relationship, one of the most horrible situations is dutiful sex. And I think for me personally, I'd rather not have any sex than have dutiful sex. It's one of the things that compound on the actual problem. The more you have dutiful sex, the more you create a negative association with sex, and then therefore it becomes a chore. It becomes something that is not as amazing in terms of collaboration. It's more becomes of we need to tick this box in order to feel like there's some sort of momentum within the relationship. So a lot of people fall under this trap, and for in this video we're going to go diving deeper on a post within Reddit where somebody has decided to stop initiating. So this is where we get to within this post here. In fact, I'll summarize as always. I'm dyslexic, so it'd be a very terrible video if I started reading for you guys. So, but I'll try my best to sort of summarize what he's trying to say here. He says he stopped initiating, as it says on the title. He stopped 3 weeks ago, and I will not give in this time. Now, when he says that, I'm wondering if he's tried this before, and what changed when he tried it before, and why is it that when he tried it, all of a sudden something must have happened, and then he's decided not to initiate again. So he says, I'll stand my ground even though it ends up in divorce. Now, I think this is a really somebody who's at their wits' end. So they've come to a place where, there's no other place where he thinks to go. Now, within Reignited Men, this is one of the first steps within changing a sexless relationship. We try and get you to not initiate or talk about sex. And the reason being is that we need to create a reset. And the reset is to create some space, because there's been some negative associations to sex, and therefore it's continuously breeding a level of discomfort when it comes to sex. So when you start initiating, there's just this weird dynamic that's going on where whatever negativity is around it, she feels obligated to do so, and then you are sort of forcing the issue because you feel like you're entitled to it, and it creates this really negative association around sex. So really, by not doing so, it gives some breathing space, but gives you also a place where you are not exposing yourself to places where you're being rejected, you're feeling unwanted, feeling unattractive. And then by doing that reset, it allows you to then approach it from a different way. And again, before you approach it in a different way, we then teach you some things in order to get there. Now, in this post here, it says it's been 12 years of this bullshit and this feeling. So it's been a really, really long time that this guy has been going through this. And, he goes on to talk about how he's tired of that she's doing him a favor, and that she's not really interested in it at all. Now, for it to be 12 years, it tells me a few things. And like I said, I'm more usually speculating. If it's you that wrote this post, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds like he's not very good at communicating his needs. And also, more importantly, he's got no seduction skills. Now, when I say this, most people go a little bit, no. And it's one of those things where it's like driving a car. Just because you can drive a car, it doesn't make you a good driver. So you have there's certain skills that make you a good person in seduction. So again, when it comes to seduction, that's like the spearhead of within those sexual interactions. But you still have to consider attraction. So there's an attraction phase, and then there's a transition into seduction. So when you do the attraction side, it's you getting her to like you. And then when you do seduction, it's her to be compliant with where you're going. So again, most people miss this. And when he says 12 years and I'm so tired of feeling this way, it means that the way you view sex is more about him and what he needs, and it's nothing to do with being collaboration. So that's the reason why, again, she feels like she needs to do it as a sense of duty. That, okay, it's your sexual appetites that I'm now trying to appease, because whenever you present sex and I'm not interested or I'm not ready to go into it, you start crying, you start feeling rejected, you start having negative feelings. So now I feel obligated to control your feelings, and this is where the dynamic goes, and this is where many guys fall apart, or at least are failing, because they get to, it's almost like a blind spot. So they they're moving forward and they're pointing at her, making it seem like she's the problem, but they really are blinded to the way they're approaching. And usually, I always say this, and you'll hear this many times as you follow this channel, is that she doesn't reject you specifically; she rejects your approach. And generally, if you think about it as a scale, most people within attraction and sex, there's a cold, there's a warm, and there's a hot. So cold is in, I'm not even thinking about sex, I'm not ready for sex, I'm not even interested in arousal or anything. And then warm is in, I'm open to the idea, but I'm not quite there. And then hot is in, I'm really ready to do some very exciting things. So most people, they rush straight to the hot or assume she's already hot, and then for everything that they're doing in terms of actions is as though somebody is already hot and ready to go. And that person that doing that too, usually at the cold place, they haven't even thought about it, they're not even there. So this is where the attraction comes into play, where by doing some attraction spikes or things that we call using the tools of attraction, you then get into a place where you move them along into somewhere where it's warm, where they're at least considering sex, they're at least considering going somewhere with you in terms of that sexual interaction. And then you can transition into seduction, which becomes a more collaborative situation where she feels satisfied and wants to come back on the next time. So this is some of the failings that I could see from just this post alone. And like I said, I'm speculating, so I could be potentially wrong with the whole diagnosis here. But generally, this is what I see when I speak to most guys, that they're completely blind to how they're interacting when it comes to sex, when it comes to the way you demonstrate sexuality, the way you demonstrate the way you lead within that sexual interaction is very important. And most women would take a passive approach, and therefore they put this on her that, okay, just because I've presented it, then you should take the lead. And again, that again is one of the reasons why it end up in this weird place. So now you said it took him, it's 12 years and he's now tired of it. The fact that it's 12 years, it just means that there's a lot of issues in terms of him demonstrating his sexuality and him being a leader within that bedroom. So again, therefore, this is why he ends up in this place where it's a dead bedroom. So he says, I had great sex life before. Now, I don't, without knowing his age, I wish I knew his age, because does that mean, let's say, for example, if he's in his 30s, that's great sex life. Was he a bachelor, as in he lived by himself and his own house and so on? Those are things I would want to know, because if that's the case, yeah, you're more likely to have more sex, especially if you live independently from the other person. If he's lived with a woman continuously and they had a great sex life, that's a completely different story. But if just like this relationship here, I'm pretty sure when they lived separately, the sex life was amazing, and it will be amazing because you have natural scarcity, and that natural scarcity is one of those attraction spikes. So this is not a valid point that, okay, before I had really great sex, so therefore, she knew that, and therefore, I've been wasting my years. And I can see where he's coming from, and I'm really trying to be as empathetic as possible, because this is a horrible place to be, in this place where you're now willing to throw away many years of marriage. And again, I'm not sure, but speculating if there's children involved as well. It takes a lot for a man to come to this point where he just really doesn't care, because generally men don't want to split up their families. It's really against our nature to do so. So really, I feel for this guy, but at the same time, there's certain things that he's completely blind to. If he ends up with another woman, he'll definitely end up in this situation again where he's sexless, because he's really got blinkers on in terms of this. Like I said, everybody can drive a car. It doesn't make them a really good driver. And this is a case where he thinks his seduction game is good, but it's nowhere close to what is required to be consistent within a relationship and for him to have a fulfilling relationship. So this is very important, guys, and thank you very much for watching this video. To learn more about the attraction tools, we've got a course that is coming up called the attraction toolbox, and this is going to be where it teaches you the different skills that you need in order to be attraction. In fact, most people are only used to, which is they use verbal innuendos, which is a very weak one, and then sometimes they just sort of wait and see whether she's got any inkling of any sexual attention, then they just try and pounce and use their hands. Whereas that's just two tools. When there's also eye contact, there's scarcity, there's a bit of silence. How do you use those in order to maximize attraction and then transition into seduction? So there's certain things that we'll be teaching within that course. And again, it's a free course. And if you want more details on it, we'll be giving you some more details. Right now, the website is under construction. We should be able to get a website. But for now, you can go to our Instagram, which is thriving_tribesmen, and then type in unleashed on the DMs, and we'll be sending you details on that. And soon you'll find my link to my Instagram in the description. So thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you very much. See you soon.